Hi, my name is David McCutcheon, Director of Patch. I'm here with Mr. Stephen Goffreda, who is the Director of the Student Services for Roane County Schools. We're going to talk a little bit about school news today and your involvement and what you do with the students and how you interact with the county school system, and talk about some topics that people out there need to know. So,
okay.
Welcome to our show.
Well, thank you. This is fascinating. We're really high tech now.
We are. We've stepped into a different realm for what Patch does, and we decided going live broadcasting on the internet is what we needed to do. And courtesy of A&M Digital Technologies with Joe and Cena McDonald, we're able to take the next step forward using technology. So
into the 21st century.
Yeah, we're finally getting there. We've stepped into what we feel like is a good form of communication for us. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about attendance. I know you got some attendance news, and
yes.
Why don't you talk a little bit about what's going on attendance-wise for the school?
All right. Well, of course, the big news in Roane County Schools with attendance is our monthly attendance report, and we've had quite a bit of competition amongst the 6 schools, particularly at the beginning of this school year. But one of the schools has been running away with the race, and that's actually happened for about 6 months in a row, and that's
right.
Geary Elementary Middle School has had the best attendance in Roane County for 6 months in a row. Until now.
Oh,
and
no.
Someone finally broke their winning streak. Now, I don't know whether they set an all-time record or not. It could be that they have, but that might have gone for another month, but one of the schools just upset them. And I've got the rankings for October.
All right, time out. Let's not even talk about it. I'm from Gary, so
Sorry.
I don't want to hear the bad news. Let's just focus on the good news.
Well, and I have to say, Geary did win the county championship for 2011
right.
to 2012.
I'll brag about that a little bit.
Yeah, and that
cool.
trophy's still there. They get to hold that all year. But now we're working on 2013's trophy.
Okay.
And Geary did win the first month of the year, but it looks like they've been upset for the second month. So
all right, well,
got
break
the
it to
rankings.
me. Who's
Here we go.
new,
We haven't announced this anywhere yet, except within the schools. It hasn't even been on the radio yet. But at number 6, Roane County High School, 93% for October. In 5th place, as we move up the rankings, Walton Elementary Middle School at about 94.4%.
Yep.
And that's one of Walton's better rankings. In 4th place, Spencer Middle School just keeps surprising everyone. They've had another month where they are above 95%, about 95.3%. Now, I think that's fantastic for a middle school.
I tell you what, I'm impressed, and I'll let you get through them, and then we'll talk a little bit about our history of attendance. Just great news. But yeah,
it's been a nice start. But I really think I have to thank Geary again for getting this going, because I think they've made everybody so competitive. Everyone wants to beat Geary.
Yeah, they've set the bar pretty high.
They did. In 3rd place was Reedy Elementary School at 95.8%, almost 96%.
Wow.
And you know, Reedy has a history of winning.
Yes.
In fact, they had about a 5-month winning streak back a couple years ago.
Yep.
They're a tough school to beat. And in 2nd place, Geary Elementary Middle School was 2nd place for October, 96% attendance. That's still phenomenal for October.
That's fantastic.
And then in 1st place, and this is the county champion for the month of October, Spencer Elementary School pulled it off at 96.5%.
Wow.
So it's just about 0.4 of a point separating Geary and Spencer right now.
And you know, and I think that's hard to do. Spencer Elementary has K through 4, which it's hard. I think younger children get sick more often. At least that's how I feel about it. And they're harder to say, you know, how it's hard to gauge how well they feel. You know, you might take your kindergarten and say, you feeling all right, and then 20 minutes later they throw up all over you, and then before that they're like, I'm great, let's go. Whereas the 7th or 8th grade, they'll tell you, no, I don't think I can make it, because they've had more experience gauging how sick they are. But overall, what's crazy to me is we're talking about numbers here, and everybody's within, 2.5% of each of our 6 schools are within 2.5% of each other.
Yeah.
And above 92, I can remember 10 years ago when we started talking about attendance, and 92 was a state level. You had to get to 92, you're in trouble, and we were back at 88, I believe.
That's correct.
And, and you implemented some stuff
as
superintendent, and Roger Miller was working, and and you guys got that to meet the state standards. I remember it took about 2.5 years to keep pressing to get it up there, and to working with parents, working with the schools, working with the principals.
We've been
I mean, it's
trying
phenomenal.
to
Being above 92% is great.
Yeah, we're trying to instill it in the culture of each school so that they see this as a value, and it's fun to compete because this is something any school could win.
Right.
All they have to do, it's like playing tug of war. If everyone pulls at the same time, you're going to win.
Yeah,
and I think that's what's happened with some of these schools. They've got the kids on their side, and that gets the parents on their side because they go back at home and they say, hey, we want to win this championship, and it's pushed the whole county up, and we're hoping we can keep this momentum going. It's going longer than usual. I mean, we typically start the year off well, but this is exceptionally good for this time of year. And the third calendar month, and that's including the Black Walnut Festival, is off to a pretty good start too. Yeah. So in November we'll let you know how that goes.
It's always an interesting challenge to get through the holidays and so forth, but it's just crazy. The new state level that you have to get to, what's the goal everybody's shooting for statewide?
Well, believe it or not, the goal is 90, so we're way over
that.
Wow,
that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And the county goal is to get to
We'd like to hit 95.
So 95 is what we're shooting for?
And the other thing, and this is getting into some of just the technical issues of attendance, the ratings we're giving you are raw attendance data.
Yep.
Our attendance rate is actually even higher than that because the state gives you credit for excused absences and other various things.
So this isn't counting all the doctor's excuses and dentist excuses that have to come in yet.
We try to be real hard on ourselves, and when we release these numbers, we use the lower numbers that are just raw data. Who's here, who's not here. And then at the end of the year, when they do the recalculations of all the excused absences, the legitimate absences, our attendance rates are even higher than this.
So the numbers you turn in the state will be better.
Oh, the state calculates better numbers.
I'm still amazed by it because I remember when I was a board member, we had these conversations about attendance. We'd had a history of 88%, 89%, and that's the best
Well, we've had good cooperation, too, from the legal system. The magistrates have worked with us with enforcing the laws, the prosecutor's office, the judges. People have been very cooperative in seeing this as a value. And it's a very important indicator because the research shows that the most effective schools in the country all seem to have good attendance. So we're hoping
if you're not there, you can't learn.
Yeah, we're hoping we can just boost the whole county up that way. And we realize we're going to hit that time of year when the flu comes in and the bad weather and whatever. So we have to enjoy this while we've got it. But when they start the year this well, we're real happy. And I can't wait to go to Spencer Elementary to present them with a plaque and let them cheer and
So I shouldn't go home and tell my kids, hey, guess what?
Not yet.
Not yet. All right, I won't tell them. So, all right, we talked a little bit about some news that's coming up this week. I know we have some activities going on. Fill us in on that.
Well, coming up on, actually it's next week on November 1st, Thursday, November 1st, we're going to have a 2-hour delay. The students will be starting school 2 hours later, and that's so that we can adjust the school day so that the teachers can stay later and the staff can stay later so that we can hold parent-teacher conferences after school. Now, I'm going to guess that most of the schools will be running them around 4 to 6, but I would recommend checking with your local school as to when that actually happens.
I know Spencer Elementary, for my kids being there, is 3:30 to 5:30. So
3:30 to 5:30.
And I'm sure like Gary and Reedy may run a little bit later schedule because they get out a little later, but that it should be in that ballpark. Hopefully, if you haven't gotten news yet about when to check in with your teacher, call the school and find out and make your appointment. Parent-teacher conferences. Very important. I mean, it's important you go in and you know what your child's doing in school. It gives you a great opportunity to meet with the teacher one-on-one.
It changes the relationship, too.
I agree.
I know when I was a teacher, of course, I always enjoyed the classes. You build up some kind of rapport with the kids just being there teaching them. But then when you got to meet their parents and talk to them about the students, then you really, really understood them better. And it helps build a partnership with the family. So if you have problems later on, you know who you're calling. I mean, I just think parent-teacher conferences are fantastic. Now, not all the kids do, because sometimes they don't want to hear the whole story. Okay. But I think it's very important for the school to maintain good communication with parents.
And I think it's very important for the parent to go in, to get an idea of the teacher, what they're working on, what direction they're going, what the teacher may see that the child needs to work on at home. And you're right, it opens up that line of communication so that if you have to call the teacher, at least you have a picture in your head and you have an idea of what their mentality is like so that you can communicate effectively with them. So very important stuff. Make sure you go to that. A lot of times when I taught at the high school, the good kids parents showed up, and I'm thinking these aren't the parents that need to be in here asking about their kids. Their kids are great, and the parents that needed to be in there and working with their kids to to get better and to finish their homework and to study harder. Those are the parents that I was saying, shoot, I wish they would show up so I could have that conversation with them. So keep in mind, regardless of how your student's doing in school, it's still important to go. And if you have any questions, it's important to go. So make sure you schedule your parent-teacher conference and get in there and talk to your teacher. Find out details about what's going on in the school day for your child.
Now, the other news, if you want to call it news, is we have a Board of Education meeting coming up too. I believe that is Thursday, November 1st. I believe it will be at 6 at Walton Elementary Middle. We try to move the meetings around the county so that everyone
And I think that's
participate.
Fantastic.
Yes.
That gives people from different areas a chance to come to the Board of Education meeting. It's extremely important to have that happen, and people need to get involved with the Board of Education. Let them know what your feelings are. I know as a board member it was always questionable because you make decisions based on what you think people want, but if they don't come tell you, you don't know. You're kind of deciding things blind, so to speak.
And again, it's nice to meet the people that you're serving. I know when we used to go around the county, back when I was county superintendent, I enjoyed meeting the people at the various schools.
Right.
Some of them I got to talk to on the phone, but it was nice to connect,
Put
a voice with a face. And say, I know you. We've talked on the phone.
Right. So, and it's great, again, get out there, meet the board members, let them know what you feel are important issues for you as a parent. To help make your child's education better. So that's all on November 1st. Now on November 1st we will not have patch classes at any school due to the parent-teacher conferences. Again, we think that's vitally important, so there will be no patch classes at any school in the county on November 1st for that parent-teacher conference. So all right, great stuff. Again, I'm here with Steve Goffreda if you tuned in a little late, and we're talking about student attendance, parent-teacher conferences, and Board of Education meetings. And then let's talk a little bit about the levy. I know you have a firsthand view at how it's going and what we're working on and why it's important. And as a superintendent of the schools and as a teacher and as a parent, you've had students that have come through our programs. I'll let you just talk about what you want.
Former superintendent of schools.
Former superintendent of schools. And now you're in the student service part.
Vested interest in this because of the fact that I've worked very closely with the patch program over the years. I remember when we first started this with the 21st Century Learning Grant. And I'll start out by saying I was very impressed with what I saw in the newspaper this week.
Yes, there's a great article in the paper this week.
This was just fantastic. Right there on the back of the front section, it's beautiful. And I really like the picture. It says, "Who wants to vote for the patch levy?" And there you see all these kids, the future citizens, well, they're actually citizens now, but the future voting citizens of Roane County all raising their hand. And that was just so great to see.
And that's a picture from the elementary school. That shows you the amount of kids we have in our programs when we're running all our programs. We had a whole host of them, and this was a year and a half ago or 2 years ago.
And I think the message is basically, these are the people that we are serving. But that's not all.
And we had a little over 200 kids at the elementary school participating in patch.
Right. Well,
so
what I mean is
it's
not
staying
just
4 days a week. So that's 50 staying a day, 50 different kids. So
it's not just the kids that are being served. There's so many
working parents that can't get back in time and don't want to send their kid home to empty house.
Now, for those of you at home right now that don't have a newspaper, you can go out and get one. But
go get one.
Yeah, I can tell you part of it. The patch program has brought in over $6 million in federal grant money to this county. Now, when you think about what if we lost $6 million, where would we be?
And the money that goes back into the county.
Right, it goes back into the county, and they've spent about $14,000 each year for food service right here at the Roane County Committee on Aging, where we're broadcasting from right now. That's a great service to this organization.
That's food for our daycare. We eat lunch downstairs. It's important for the younger students to interact with the grandparents. And even if they're not their grandparents, they get that idea that these are senior citizens that fill that role for them. Because we have a lot of students, their grandparents live out of state, so the only interaction with a senior citizen they may get is at lunchtime. So it's a great combination for us and the Committee on Aging.
Plus financially,
but that's money that goes back in.
Yeah, looking at it from a financial standpoint, that pumps money right back into this program. They've spent about $18,000 every year for food at Roane County local businesses. Now, what a positive effect that has on all of our restaurants.
Well, to give you an idea, that's food for building blocks. That's our students up there where we do snack in the morning, lunch, and snack in the afternoon. And I'll say most of that money goes to Foodland. You know, we try to keep it as local as possible. We want all our money that we get in from grants stuff to stay local.
Now,
and you hear that a lot throughout the times that we talk.
Here's one fact I didn't even realize, that the Patch program and the 21st Century Learning Grant has invested over $119,000 right here into this building at the Committee on Aging to work on the upstairs portion of the building. Now, I know that you did a lot of work up there.
They
I didn't realize how much money you spent, $119,000. And that's the GED program, which that definitely has a positive effect on people getting graduation diplomas. The Spokes program, karate, that's very popular. Dance, the daycare centers, the senior sewing, college classes. You've made a new office space up here. The daycares in Roane County. That was fascinating, the fact that you got into that and you've been able to successfully take that over. I was just amazed.
It's fascinating.
How did you learn how to do that?
It all fell in our laps. I actually took my son, he was 3, so 6 years ago, to Stay and Play with Margie Conley, and they were having to close. The building they were in couldn't keep them there any longer, and they said, we're just going to have to close down. I was like, shoot, we've only been here for a couple months. So I'm only going to get a couple months out of this deal, and then there won't be any daycare for my son. And I talked to them a little bit, and I talked with Zach, and Zach said, you know what, I think daycare is great. I want involved. I'm joking about that, but we got involved in daycare. We thought we can make this work. So Charlie Kuhn was our job skills instructor, and we talked with him, and we said, you know, we need a place to put a daycare. Here's what we have to have out of the room. It has to be safe, meet the DHHR standards and laws, and we opened a room up here within a couple of months, and Charlie and his high school students, who we hired to come in and learn job skills, created a room up here for us within 2 months. They worked their butts off. They worked 2 or 3 hours each evening, 4 days a week. Charlie came in and did extra work in the evenings and on weekends to make sure it was all up and ready to go. And 2 months later, when that one shut down, they just moved over to here. And then from there, we opened up a daycare in Fairplain. The Board of Education over there called us and said, hey, you know, there's room for more. We need more universal pre-Ks. So Charlie Kuhn again got the call and said, Charlie, you know, we want to start a group, and he did high school kids doing job skills programs in Jackson County, and went over there and helped us open up a building. And then we expanded to 2 rooms here. Now we're into 3 rooms here. So all that money that we invested here has helped create and open up more economical relief here for the county by, you know, Shanna's School of Dance is next door. It wouldn't be here if we hadn't invested in our program here and kept the money here and used those job skills students to open up the building.
It's a tremendous investment in the county, and what I see happening here with Patch, which is Planned Approach to Community Health, is a very intergenerational approach.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you're helping the children, you're also helping the senior citizens, and then in between, all the parents. And it's just amazing that you can get into so many diversified areas and have them all go so well. And of course, you have the successful operation of all the after-school programs in the county, which is how we started. And then all the employments, over 120 adults and 30 high school college students hired every year. This is the 4th largest employer in the county. A lot
That's what amazes me.
It's a lot of it is part-time work, but it's pumping money back into the economy of Roane County. It's putting money in the pockets of our people. How can that hurt?
Now, you think we spend roughly here just in Roane County, we spend in the neighborhood of $300,000 a year buying supplies for after-school programs, but mostly it's hiring people. Zach hired 1 person today. I hired 1 person today, and that's just today. On a weekly basis, Denise probably interviews / hires. Well, she probably interviews 4 or 5 people a week looking for a job and trying to fill a niche we may have. And I would say in the last 2 months we've hired 50 people, and I'd say that's a safe estimation of just working part-time, you know, and or a student that's working part-time.
And you've got about 15 full-time employees too.
Right, and that's between the daycares and what we run here at our office.
They spend their money in Roane County.
They do. That's a lot of our teachers that work part-time for us after school say, you know, this is my Christmas money, and they're going to spend it buying presents, you know, or this is my money to buy, you know, to pay my car payment. So it's important for everybody. Yeah, a lot of our parents come in, or our teachers come in and say, I have a child in college. After this extra money helps me buy their books, pay their meal plan. You know, so it's important that people understand it. It's not money we're just taking and throwing away and going somewhere. It's directly helping the people of Roane County.
Definitely. Now, for those of you that are watching out there, what we're talking about is why this levy for Planned Approach to Community Health for Patch is important. What we need to do is lock this program in, and it will take so little money to lock in so much money.
Yes, I agree.
Because if we can stabilize this program with a very modest levy, which will hardly cost us anything, we can bring in all this other money, and money begets money. What happens is, as you pull in all these other grants by keeping this program solvent, then you can access all this other federal money where we get the benefits of our tax dollars. Now, I think it's very, very important for people to understand that when this project started, the intent of the federal government was that this would be seed money, and that eventually the counties would take over their own programs.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to do here. We've done so well with so much money, and I think we mentioned about $6 million worth coming into the county, that now we want to stabilize this, take it over so we can run it ourselves, and we can even be more creative then, because then we will not be bound by a lot of red tape.
And there's a lot of red tape. It's getting more and more tape as the month goes on. It seems like every time I turn around, there's an email saying you can only do this or you're no longer allowed to do that, and it's crazy. And, and that's not what was intended. I know you were part of the first grant writing group that wrote the grant, and you wrote lots of unique and wonderful programs in that are no longer allowed. You know, next year we'll go down to 3 schools via the grant. So unless we pass the levy, the other 3 schools will be left out to dry. Our Committee on Aging site will no longer be able to be a site, and we'll just have to follow the rules. So,
for those of you watching in Roane County, if we can pass this levy, Roane County can decide what we do.
Exactly. That's the important part.
That way you can customize it for what's really needed here,
Yep,
and I think that you guys have a good handle on what we need here, and we need to keep this going.
Well, we have a good pool. I got a really good board of directors. We have a great staff. You know, every day Zach and I are in the schools, so working with the teachers, the principals, and, you know, we have a wonderful group of citizens that let us know. I mean, I can't walk into, you know, you walk into Gary's Sporting and Pond, and you know, Gary Alvis is talking about, you know, what kids need and how it's good to get kids out in the woods, and that's the kind of attitude that everybody has. Hey, here's what we can do to help our kids. It's always such a positive. So we look forward to that. But
when's Election Day?
When's Election Day? There you go. It's next week, I think, right? I'm not even sure. I have to look and see. November 5th, 6th? November 6th.
Tuesday, November 6th.
It's a little late to register, I guess, but if you haven't done early voting, early voting has started. So if you haven't voted yet and you have any questions, call us and let us know. 8047 here at our Spencer office. We'll be more than happy to help you out with any questions you may have.
And we hope everybody votes, because we need parents voting as well. I mean, there are a lot of people that stay home, and all these elections affect you. And the more people we have voting, the better the results.
Yep, I agree. All right, well, I have with me again Mr. Stephen Goffreda, Director of Student Services for Roane County Schools, coming in, volunteering his time to talk on our show and talk about attendance for the county. Important dates coming up here in the next week or so for students and parents. I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming in.
It's been a pleasure. I'm impressed with your new studio.
Yeah, we've done a lot of good stuff, and again, thanks to A&M Digital Technologies. Make sure you check their stuff out, amdigitaltechnologies.com, for streaming our show, and Joe and Cena McDonald for setting all this up for us. So tune in next time.
Head over to Imus in the morning now.
There you go.
Joking.
All right, well, thank you, and we'll see you next show.